Black Myth: Wukong is without a doubt one of the best and most epic action-adventure games I've ever played, with so many unique and interesting bosses to face off against, most of whom have been established characters for literally hundreds of years. Many of them require a lot of hunting off the beaten track and puzzle solving in fact to actually find at all. So with that in mind, here's at least 10 hidden or secret bosses you definitely don't want to miss in Black Myth: Wukong, as well as the lore on who exactly they are. Let's dive right in. The first secret boss of Chapter 1, Black Cloud Red Fire, is actually one we'll have to fight twice. First in the general forest area, then again by accessing the secret ruins of the Guanyin Temple. The first Wandering White isn't hidden by any means, but can be a pain of an early boss given its heavy attacks and you probably still getting to grips with all the game mechanics. So I'd recommend first defeating Guangzi, who's up to the left of the white, since doing so will unlock the Red Tide spell, our first transformation for safely knocking off a lot more health against the whites. You'll want to make sure to defeat this version of the boss before the secret one as well, else it'll despawn and you'll lose one of the best spirits in the game. Though back to defeating Guangzi, and that will also allow us to ring the large bell in the immediate area, a key step to unlocking the secret part of this fight. The Wandering White, you see, is in fact the resurrected remains of Elder Jinchi, a monk who in the original journey to the west was encountered by Sun Wukong and Tan Sanzeng fairly early on their journey to the west. I plan to do a bigger deep dive on both the main and secret main bosses in a future video, so I'll be more brief here. Though, in fairness, the animated music video that plays at the end of Chapter 1 more or less summarizes the rise and fall of Elder Jinchi, who, as a young monk, came across the Black Bear Gwai in the woods, who gifted him a sack of coins, and these would sow the seeds for Jinchi's future greed for material wealth, an obsession he desperately sought to cast off later in life when he became a fully fledged monk, as he buried his gold, silver, and copper coins to detach himself from the material. But this merely shifted Jinchi's material obsession to something more acceptable for monks to possess, that being their robes known as kasayas, which he now coveted. Jinchi lived on as a devout monk for a further 270 years, and during this time amassed a full 12 cases of kasayas, until the day Sun Wukong and Tan Sanzeng arrived at the Guanyin Temple, and Wukong, tired of his master praying at every statue, summoned the monks residing within by ringing loud a bell, as explained in the Elder Jinchi entry. And thus, to summon Jinchi's spirit once again will involve ringing more of these bells, though this time there are 3 in total, with the second being behind the area where we fight Guangmu later into the chapter. Guangzi and Guangmu, by the way, were both key disciples of Jinchi and instrumental in his downfall. So the final bell is down a path to the left of the white-clad noble arena, and ringing it too will transport us to a hidden equivalent of the Guanyin Temple, the place where we already fought Lingzuzi earlier. But in this version, we discover another aspect of Elder Jinchi, one that can talk and clearly covets material possessions still, most notably the Kasaya of Eversparks, which is the very thing which caused Jinchi's downfall in the first place and the burning of his temple. You see, this Kasaya was brought to the temple by Tang Sanzeng, and was a very precious thing indeed, given that it was a gift from the Bodhisattva Guanyin themselves, whom this temple is named after. And upon seeing it, all of Jinchi's greed was reawakened, and he desperately desired to keep this thing. So seeing his greed, Jinchi's close companions Guangzi and Guangmu hatched separate plans, which collectively would result in the burning of the temple. Originally, they sought to merely burn Sun Wukong and Tang Sanzeng whilst they slept, but Wukong was able to protect them both through the use of the fireproof mantle. Then, royally pissed off at this attempt on their lives, which could have left them scarred and deformed, he turned the flames back outwards, resulting in the temple's destruction, after which Jinchi, in his guilt, took his own life, though later the Black Wind King would attempt his resurrection. However, rather than returning to his original vessel, Jinchi's soul now instead fused with the various coins the monk had buried in life, returning as this wandering, head-butting golem, still craving the thing he sought in his moment of weakness. But defeating him here and setting his soul free will unlock us the legendary fireproof mantle, the same one used by Wukong when the temple burned down, and a must-have for any flame-based battles yet to come, including the one at the end of this chapter. The next secret boss of Chapter 1 actually can't be discovered until reaching Chapter 2. In the arena, where we defeat the first Prince of Flowing Sands, this giant rat fella is a key secret. And if you're lucky, the prince will shatter the wall it's hidden behind during the fight. Though if not, you can break it open with a slam from the Wandering White Spirit, or another powerful transformation. Inside are the long scales, key to unlocking the remaining hidden secrets back in Chapter 1, which, in classic video game fashion, is hidden behind a waterfall which can now be dispelled. It's located near the Guangxi and Wandering White fights, a bit more to the left, and upon approaching it, you'll begin to hear a poem, recounting the story of this Red Long, and also providing a tip on how to defeat it. You see, this is the first of 4 hidden Long brothers that you'll have to fight throughout the game. Long meaning Eastern Dragon, and ironically a longer style one, and this thing should by far have the most health of anything you've encountered thus far. Fortunately though, it also has a key weakness, enabling enormous health reductions by specifically targeting the sensor incense burners on its back as they light up during the fight, literally triggering explosions directly on the thing. Defeating it will unlock a sensor curio for ourselves, but ours instead will provide additional damage reduction should we deplete our gourd uses. More interestingly, however, is the Red Long journal entry, recounting just how the dragon came to be in this place, and just why it had grafted such a great weakness onto its back. You see, back before the journey to the west even began, the King Long of the Jing River was executed by the Celestial Court for altering the amount of rain that he'd been commanded to make fall. And after his death, fearing persecution themselves, the 4 Long brothers asked the fortune teller Yuan Shusheng, this guy who we meet many times through the game, to tell them what fate had in store. He explained that a monkey known as the Destined One would ultimately come to seek them out one by one and claim their lives, prompting the 4 elder Long brothers met in the game to hide under the protection of various Yao Guai kings. And so the Red Long decided to barter with the Black Bear Guai of Chapter 1, trading his worldly valuables for the peaceful seclusion within this hidden cave, where he remained and slept for many years since. Though, when he awoke, he found himself no longer able to fly, the skill having waned across the century or so that it had gone unpracticed. Seeking a way to regain his flight then, he once again sought the help of the Black Bear Guai, who, merely seeing an additional chance for more profits, sold the Red Long a Boshan sensor, claiming that the smoke clouds it emitted would provide a surface through which the Red Long could now fly. I'm not quite certain what the Red Long traded this time, given it seems he had nothing left after the first transaction, but there we go. With the sensor acquired, he burned his own will to create the smoke. Yet it did not provide the amounts of help he needed, and so he continued to add more sensors to his back, consuming yet more will with every attempt, but never achieving the desired effect of flight. And funnily enough, this fight would have been a hell of a lot tougher without the Red Long's self-imposed weakness, and no doubt it could have lived a little longer had it not done this. Alas, as the journal says, a skill once mastered can fade with neglect. Such is the nature of all knowledge. If not applied, it withers away to nothing in the end. Chapter 2's Hidden Long can similarly be discovered behind a waterfall, only this one is made of sand, not water. It's located to the right of the Rockrest Flat Shrine, and again needs the long scales to dispel. This Long Prince is more humanoid in appearance, wielding 2 mighty hammers, which he'll routinely use to perform this shockwave attack. An attack which, mind you, we can totally avoid by just jumping up onto a rock here. Defeating this one, alongside the standard Long crafting rewards, will provide the Tridacna Pendant Curio, able to reduce the cooldowns of all of our spells somewhat. Now, unlike his brother, the Black Long stood for a time as the Guardian under the River Ji, and much like his father before him, had the power to call forth storms, yet was only allowed to do so at the behest of the Celestial Court. Though the townsfolk on the shore simply assumed the Black Long was to blame for any terrible weather calamity. They all believed he housed a great treasure in the river below, but dared not venture to retrieve it, fearful of incurring the Black Long's wrath. That was until the arrival of a young man, clad in a midnight hue with a necklace of pale moonstones, a master thief, claiming to be skilled enough to steal the Black Long's prized treasure. And the thief described is in fact the Yellow Wind Sage, the Chapter 2 boss, though a long time before he would become the leading authority of the desert. When reaching the Black Long's lair though, Yellow Wind Sage learned the truth, that the Loong had no such power to act on his own whims and merely served at the bidding of the Celestials. The Black Loong then recounts the words of Yuan Shusheng, who'd warned of his ultimate demise at the hands of the Destined One. The thief, who'd travelled to the Black Loong's lair at the behest of a fortune teller as well, suggested that perhaps there was some grander design behind the two meeting, and bade that the Black Loong accompany him into the west in return for the treasures of the Black Loong's hoards. A similar deal as was struck between the Red Loong and Black Bear Gwai. Now, ironically, by choosing to journey with the Yellow Wind Sage, Black Loong put himself directly in the path of the Destined One, who would eventually defeat both him and the Yao Guai King. So, to quote Master Oogway, one often meets his destiny on the road he takes to avoid it. To access Chapter 2's secret area, the Ancient Kingdom of Sahali, involves first completing a quest for the Yellow-Robed Squire, a drunk boar clad in, well, yellow robes, located in a large area behind the Rockrest Flat Shrine left of the Black Loong's cave. There's a few steps to this, with the very first being to sober the guy up. The item for this has a fairly obvious name, being called a Sobering Stone, one of which can be bought from the Man in Stones found in a ravine behind and to the right of the School Hideout Shrine. To unlock him as a vendor though, you'll have to first defeat the Mother of Stones, a being this man had sought the power of long ago, but had only managed to retrieve half of it, merely resulting in his stone encasement. Defeating her in the upper area, right of the same shrine nearby, will yield the stone essence item we need. Return it to the Man in Stone, defeat him in a quick fight, speak to him, and then reload the area for a vendor store selling the item we need, as well as the iron pellet soak for our gourd, which is also very useful and worth picking up. With that, return to the boar and sober him up. Then, having a severe case of the munchies, he'll travel to the Temple of Crouching Tiger in search of food. We'll find him again, left of the stairs leading up to the Tiger Vanguard fight, and this time he'll simply request a Jade Lotus, a very common ingredient which, provided you harvest every flower you see, you should already have, though these ones specifically grow in water. After this, the boar will mention a gold piece belonging to his brother, another item you'll already have, provided you've defeated the first Prince of Flowing Sands to get the long scales from earlier. Return to the area where we first met the boar, and he'll now fight you for the gold piece, but upon defeat will praise your skill and bid you follow him through a nearby door. After this, we'll be transported back through time to before this valley became a ruin, and even before Sun Wukong came to this place in the original journey to the west, where we'll have to fight two additional secret bosses. Another Tiger Vanguard that stands guard at the region's entrance, who actually is the father of the Tiger Vanguard and Mad Tiger, who we fight back in the main region of this chapter. And in fact, given we get the rock-solid spell by defeating this Tiger Vanguard's son, using it in this fight will trigger a very cool response. I wonder if he'd believe us if we told him his son did in the future, kind of. Having proven our skill, however, the Tiger Vanguard will realize that we could be valuable, sending us on and explaining that his life is not his to give, seeing as he has two young ones to take care of. Sadly, in the original works, he will eventually be killed by Zhu Bajie, but this tale comes before, and lets us learn how the Yellow Wind Sage originally became king of these lands, which at this time are being terrorized by a giant beetle known as a Fuban, which, with the power of a Buddha head on its back, is able to fend off any attacks made on it thus far. However, having proven our skill, the Yellow Wind Sage, at this time, will sound the drums, summoning the thing before sending us in to weaken it. Now, it's got a pretty intimidating health bar, but actually, you'll only have to knock off a third of it by yourself. After this, we can absorb the power of the Buddha head from atop its back, and the Yellow Wind Sage will assist us for the much quicker second stage of the fight. After its defeat, we'll travel back to the future, having acquired the King's Wind Tamer vessel to summon the Samadhi Wind, something which, again used in his boss fight at the end of the chapter, will make it far easier. In fact, the way the Destined One shakes his head after returning from the secret region does lead me to question the true nature of this whole part of the game, whether we truly traveled back in time, or perhaps simply entered a dream sequence. So let me know your thoughts on that aspect down in the comments. The Yellowwind Sage would eventually go insane after being exposed to one of Wukong's relics, and this ultimately drove him to become a being we have to fight, having beheaded Bodhisattva Lingji and taking his power for himself to emulate the Fuban's power, before hiding away in the desert to try and unlock the power of Wukong's relic. The Pagoda Realm prison cells of Chapter 3 I found to be one of the more confounding and generally difficult areas to traverse, with health-draining, time-slowing wardens routinely manifesting, and the invisible walls not being a thing when you actually want them to be. That all said, you'd be forgiven for not thoroughly exploring this place as you try to escape. However, one thing you absolutely don't want to miss can be found by dropping directly down from the upper pagoda shrine on the wall side, not the fall to your death side, throwing us into the arena of Captain Lotus Vision, the first of 4 captains we'll encounter across Chapter 3. He's a pretty tough fight, thanks to his abilities to teleport and cast countless lasers, but making use of your various spells, it shouldn't take too many tries. Once he's defeated, the purple seals locking many of the rooms in this place will also vanish, leaving them free to unlock for additional loot, and most importantly, to meet the NPC who'll task us with hunting down the other 3. Remember the king and 2 princes of Flowing Sands back in Chapter 2? Well, this is actually the 3rd prince, and everybody back in that region only actually got turned into Radguys after they began to worship the Yellowwind Sage for defeating the Fuban. The 3rd prince, however, was lured here by the wannabe Buddha, Yellowbrow, under the guise of Maitreya, the Buddha kid that we meet on the lake at the start of this chapter. The prince was also accompanied by his 4 captains, each of whom were in turn defeated by Yellowbrow and transformed into the 4 odd monstrosities we can face through this chapter. So, as the journals state, Captain Lotus Vision, the 4th captain, was struck by Yellowbrow's spike-shift cudgel. His body was pierced, and eyes grew out of every hole. Atop this pagoda, we'll then defeat Captain Wisevoice, the 1st captain who debated with Yellowbrow and was deluded. Now he sings beguiling chants in the dungeon to incite our surrender. A compulsory boss, but crucial also to this quest. Then the 3rd isn't actually a boss fight as such, as Captain Void Illusion is already dead, or at any rate frozen and immobilized. It's said that this captain threw his weapon at Yellowbrow, and Yellowbrow broke the captain's limbs and reattached them with those of others. He can be found near the Longevity Road Shrine, later on in the Valley of Ecstasy, before we make our way up to the temple. Then, for the final captain, they had their head twisted off by Yellowbrow. Into pus and blood it turns. Yellowbrow's evil craft then transformed the blood and pus into a lotus flower, blooming at the temple gates. This one too is hard to miss, but with the spirits of all 4 captains now gathered, you'll want to return to the 3rd prince in his cell, who'll thank you for doing this deed and ending their suffering, gifting, as thanks, the Chibai Spearhead, a key ingredient for crafting the Chibai Spear, which not only improves the attack power of the thrust stance, but also makes our light attack combos more jab-based, and is a fantastic way to keep combat more varied, not to mention a powerful mid-game weapon. The 3rd Long brother, the Cyan Loong, fled into the west, where Yellowbrow now reigns. The Buddha, or wannabe Buddha, who believes killing is great, who believes giving into the moment and indulging one's base desires and emotions is a key part of life. Now, from my basic understanding of Buddhism, Yellowbrow is effectively the same as a Sith Lord, but the Cyan Loong saw Yellowbrow's teachings as utter nonsense. Though, since he wished to hide out in this land, he kept such thoughts mostly to himself, simply asking if he could spend his days hidden on the back of Turtle General, fishing in the Bitter Lake. If he could catch just one living thing in there, he would be granted the right to remain in the Blessed Land undisturbed. Yellowbrow agreed to these terms, though on one condition. Once the Cyan Loong had cast the fishing rod for the first time, neither it nor he would be allowed to move, for doing so would prove an ulterior motive and result in the Cyan Loong's imprisonment. So, transforming his sword into a fishing rod, Cyan Loong cast it into the lake and did not move again. And for an untold amount of time, he remained like this, without food as the snow built up on his body. The Loong would rather endure this hardship than bow to the teachings of Yellowbrow. However, once the monkey destined to finally defeat this Loong family arrives on the back of Turtle General, the Cyan Loong is forced into action. We can find him after the Kangjin Star fight and meeting Zhu Bajie by exploring the right-hand edge of Turtle General's back. In fact, you'll want to do a full sweep of this turtle before speaking to Bajie at its head for a number of additional loot chests. But most important is this Loong brother, having already defeated the previous two, finally bringing him out of his patient waiting. His fishing rod will turn back into a lightning-based sword, which you'll want to be especially mindful of for the ensuing fight, but with some practice, he too will eventually lie defeated, rewarding us with the Breath of Fire Soak, which enables healing, then immediately striking with Cloud Step to become a deadly combination. A situational but pretty powerful one. So be sure not to miss this Loong either, as its defeat will pave the way for the final hidden boss of the Loong questline, which we'll come to in a bit. After departing from Turtle General's back though, and arriving at the northern shore with Zhu Bajie, we'll also find nearby another boss, with a very similar name, at least in English, to the last one. Chen Loong is found by travelling left along the beach, and when first approached, will of course attack, having been interrupted, I think, in an endeavour to achieve an immortality spell. Defeating him with Bajie's help, he'll say this:
"Only one of Shudong's resurrection pills can save me now."
Indeed, just like Souls games, the quests in Black Myth Wukong feature no markers. Hell, after all, how can you mark something without a map? But by paying attention to the dialogue, it's pretty clear where to go next. So if you missed him, Zhu Dog can be found back in Chapter 2. Firstly, up the hill towards Sandgate Village, near where we fight the giant frog, and after this, through the hidden passageway, underneath the arena where we fight the Tiger Vanguard, and opened with the 2 tallies, obtained from the Tiger and Stone Vanguards. For now, this is where you'll come for pill upgrades, and after defeating Chen Loong and hearing his dialogue, Zhu Dog can give us the resurrection pill that he spoke of. Return it to Chen Loong, and he'll gain the strength to unseal a place called the Painted Realm, bound or perhaps simply accessed from the Rai Scroll, which will then be given to us. And this thing is going to make the game so much easier for a number of reasons, effectively becoming a vendor hub to access all important upgrade stations in one place. Both Zhu Dog and also Shen Monkey, who upgrades our gourd, will now relocate here, with Chen Loong himself becoming a gardener of sorts, growing any seeds we discover into a continuous supply of ingredients. Though the best new addition to this place is for those who value the Destined One's aesthetic and don't want to simply be tied to wearing the gear with the best stats. Yin Tiger, formerly a friend of Sun Wukong, is a blacksmith capable of upgrading our armors to higher quality, potentially taking our favorite armor to mythic level with the right ingredients. Though that's not all, because Yin Tiger is himself a secret and, to be fair, pretty tough additional boss. Selecting Challenge in his vendor tab will trigger a somewhat friendly fight, though one involving several very powerful moves. You might want to wait, in fact, until leveling a bit more if you are struggling with this one, but should you prove yourself worthy, Yin Tiger will gift you a ton of cool rewards for defeating him, including the crafting spec for the Iron Tough set, increasing damage after successful uses of Rock Solid, the Ebb and Flow transformation, where we ourselves can become the Yin Tiger, and the most passively useful, room for an additional curio to make a grand total of 3. It's pretty crazy of a game, I think, to introduce a totally missable vendor's hub brimming with rewards this late into the game, but I think it hammers home with this game the importance of rigorous exploration and paying attention to the clues and details as much as you can. Another one, who's easy to miss towards the end of Chapter 3, can be found on the right-hand side of the Thunderclap Temple. Heading upwards and along this path, you'll have to approach this little statue in order for the boss to rise up from the ground. Monk from the Sea's story may sound fairly self-explanatory, but as always, there's plenty more nuance to be learned in the pages of journals. Originally, when Yellowbrow crossed the Bitter Lake to come to the New West, he found that there were some strange fish, known as Hilao, clinging clinging to his ship, beings from Chinese mythology with 1 head and 10 bodies. Interested by their bizarre appearance, Yellowbrow agreed to take on the fish as his disciples, teaching them to take on human form. The one we fight in particular then developed an obsession with ambushing unwary passers-by around the New West, including, fearlessly, Yellowbrow himself. Though Yellowbrow, impressed with this merciless aggression and tactful guile, like a Sith Lord would be, granted this Hilao the title of Monk from the Sea, and assigned him the task of cleaning the Thunderclap Temple inner courtyards, where he can spend his days ambushing other dwellers of the temple for his own amusement. Well, until he finally meets his match in us, provided we come wandering this way. And defeating Monk from the Sea will thereafter grant us the power to become Monk from the Sea. Hoarfrost is a transformation utilizing the Monk's 2 tentacles for somewhat more ranged attacks, as well as casting an ice sheet spell to create surrounding snow, enabling us to throw both small and large snowballs. The method that did become the Monk's preferred means of ambushing passers-by. A disciple of Yellowbrow that you certainly don't want to miss as you pass through the Thunderclap Temple. Into the webbed hollow of Chapter 4 now, left and then left again of the Verdure Bridge Shrine will be an additional area, guarded by 2 annoying yet mischievous shrunken heads who, when approached, will be silenced by one of the spider sisters that tempts us inside this little hollow. Speaking of a great treasure within. True enough, this is probably one of the most bountiful treasure hoards in terms of volume across the game. Multiple chests containing crafting materials, gourds, and finally pellet recipes, but beyond that is a prize possibly yet greater still. The Elder Amourworm is said to be one of the 2 celestial eggs of Cyan Loong, cast down into a blessed land on Earth, but the will of the mortal realm being less abundant than the celestial resulted in this egg contorting, transforming into a revolting worm-like creature. This thing would go on to produce eggs which, when ingested by hosts, would transform them into varying different insects, explaining the origin of all the different insect-wise around this region, as well as the other lesser armorworms, which are merely offspring who didn't become ingested and instead go on to spin the numerous cocoons which we find in the webbed hollow as well. So perhaps that's why the denizens of the hollow left tribute chests outside the Elder Amourworm's abode, paying respects to the creature that made them. However, despite its crucial role played within this ecosystem, the thing really isn't a tough fight. Just watch out for its 1 spewing attack and you should be fine. We can also obtain the spirit of this creature for our own transformations, though with a couple of additional steps. When defeated, you'll want to take the proto-Amourworm that it drops back to the Painted Realm and give it to Chen Loong, and just as he does with seeds, it'll be placed in a pot to grow into something bigger, though this time it's up to us to feed it as well. Back around the webbed hollow, what you'll need to do is simply break every one of these cocoons that you come across until eventually you obtain 3 of the rice cocoon items that they sometimes drop. Giving these to the proto-Amourworm and reloading the area will return to find the spirit now harvestable, allowing us to utilize that same powerful spray attack, which really was the Amourworm's 1 means of defending itself. Having it equipped will also passively slightly increase our critical hits when we become poisoned, which to be fair isn't a bad thing to have when exploring the webbed hollow full of its poisonous enemies. But the final hidden boss for this video will be the one to conclude the tale of the 4 Loong brothers, with this one found hiding out in the webbed hollow. To reach it, you'll want to head down from where we defeat the right hand of Buddha creature and take the path crossing the bridge, not the one descending further into the depths. This will bring you to a walkway of those clawed sack things which can be easily bypassed with Cloud Step, and continuing along this path, you'll quickly know the Loong is near, since once again another For What Deed poem will begin to be spoken as we come to the relief of the fallen Loong shrine. Now again, I believe that this guy only spawns when the other 3 Longs lay defeated, and the Yellow Loong is by far the toughest of the bunch. Now, whilst his brothers chose to hide in caves and on remote islands, the Yellow Loong, upon hearing the warnings of Yuan Shusheng, opted for a different tactic. Concluding that Shusheng was able to foresee destiny, Yellow Loong opted secretly to stay by his side, transforming into a pattern on the fortune teller's own own robe. For 100 years, the Yellow Long accompanied the old man on his journeys, as he foretold futures yet still failed to divert most from the course of their destiny. Also, if we're saying these Longs have been in hiding for 100 years each, then yes, that also means the Cyan Loong probably sat still in that same fishing spot for that same amount of time. Though during the Yellow Long's 100 years, he often overheard the drunk words of Yuan Shusheng. After all, he did travel around drinking from that gigantic gourd on his back. Shusheng, in his drunken stupor, would often grapple with the notions of inescapable destiny, the past shaping the future and forcing events down a certain path, making the Yellow Long question whether he truly could escape his foretold defeats at our hands. Though, when finally transforming back into a Long and meeting us down in the hollow, he still puts up a good fight, a very good fight I might add, and one of the few I actually had to leave and come back to a while later. The only advice I could really give is pay attention to the specific attack patterns. He very often does this double swing and spin before pausing, and get used to the timing on these aerial attacks too, since messing up one of those can stagger you for the rest. Finally defeating him though will grant a bunch of awesome rewards. The Golden Lining transformation literally turns us into the Yellow Long and is possibly my favorite of all the transformation options, building up focus points by seeing through enemy attacks to dodge before finishing up with a huge flurry of downward strikes. By defeating all the Longs at this point, we also unlock the Golden Long staff upgrade, an expensive thing though one that will summon a Long for bonus damage when using heavy pillar attacks, and definitely the most powerful weapon you can get your hands on at this point in the game. As well as this, completing the secret questline of the Longs paves the way for the game's secret ending, involving the hidden Great Pagoda back in the New West region. Though that's something that's going to require a whole nother big deep dive lore video to fully dissect. If you enjoyed this one though, whether it's for helping to find bosses you missed or just for the additional lore on each of them, then as always, likes are always greatly appreciated, and subscribe for more content on this awesome game. Seriously, since playing this thing, I've had the 1986 Journey to the West theme playing on repeat. It's honestly such a cool touch that they included that as part of the core game soundtrack. Finally, thank you as always to my wonderful patrons for helping me to keep this channel alive and spend more time doing the crucial research I need to construct videos like this one. If you feel like supporting the channel some more, then you can check that out in the description. Or if you want to support the channel and line your walls with some awesome metal posters, possibly of the Destined one, then you can also find my displayed affiliate link down there too. Cheers for watching, I'm Sam Bram, and I'll see you in the next one.